Okay, this next question has to do with the resurrection of the dead and also about the Messiah. Regarding the resurrection, when will that actually take place? Will it happen as soon as the Messiah is here and everybody knows? Will it happen later? Also, who is going to be included in that resurrection? For those who are not resurrected, what happens to them? Do they go to hell like Christianity teaches? What's up with that? Just in general, also, what is the Jewish belief on the Messiah in general? Thank you.
And as it turns out, there's a dearth of information on the topics you touched upon. The resurrection of the dead is mentioned in TaNaCh a number of times. It's even referenced in the book of Deuteronomy, famously in chapter 32, explicitly in a number of passages, including Isaiah 26, verse 19, Daniel 12:2. However, TaNaCh doesn't tell us in what order they occur, but it is clear that the resurrection of the dead takes place at some point after the Moshiach comes. There are a number of opinions on this topic. And in fact, many of our sages view the messianic age occurring we'll divide into two periods. One is Yemais HaMashiach, which means the messianic age, which is followed by a period we can call the Olam Haba, which is a period where we have the resurrection. There's also a discussion of who exactly resurrects from the dead. Obviously, the faithful, the loyal, but let me explain why there's a resurrection. And then this will help you understand how it works. Like, why would the dead resurrect? And I think most people view Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead, as a way of undoing death. Given that people fear death, fear the grave, people can prepare wills and purchase graves and so on, but it's very hard for people to contemplate dying. We know we're going to die, but it's so traumatic, most people can't even think about their own death for more than a few seconds before they have to sort of get it out of their head. It's very, very traumatic. The notion that it's like you're at a party and suddenly you get a tap on the shoulder and told that you have to leave. Worse, that the party goes on without you. So the idea I think people think is that, well, you're told you have to leave the party temporarily, but you get to come back to the party. That's not exactly correct, but it's certainly the way I think many people view it. What's happening is that when a person performs mitzvot and fulfills the Torah and studies Torah, so what happens is their physical body, which is the same stuff that turtles are made of and cats are made of, we share well over 90% of our DNA with these creatures. When we perform mitzvot and specifically engage in the study of Torah, so what that does is it infuses our physical body with holiness, with sanctity. So just like if you took a tree, an oak tree, and chopped it down, if you smelt the wood, it doesn't really have a strong fragrance. Oak is a very valuable material because it's really useful for building, and you could fashion wood into a barrel, right? Imagine you make a barrel out of oak wood, right? And then once you finish it, you then fill it with wine, fill it with perfume, right? So what happens after time when the wine is consumed and the perfume is consumed? So then you can then smell the oak, and the oak has become the oak wood, which otherwise would have been, suddenly takes on the fragrance of the wine. It becomes permeated. And now the oak of this barrel now smells of the beautiful fragrance of perfume. Well, that's what happens with a physical body. That's why the resurrection is essentially a necessity. Those who devote their lives to mitzvot, those who devote their lives to Torah. Chazal, our sages of blessed memory, based on Isaiah 26, verse 19, very clearly state that the resurrection, or a person who's worthy of resurrecting, means that they were hamelim b'Torah, that they was engaged in the study of Torah, and in between those, enable others to study Torah. So there are people who are not mechuyev to study Torah constantly, but do, or make sure that their spouse studies Torah, make sure that Torah goes on in your community. A non-Jew, people think a non-Jew is not supposed to study Torah. That's not my view at all. But what it means is just a non-Jew doesn't say the Torah was given to the non-Jews, it was given to the Jews. But non-Jews must understand Torah to know how to keep the 7 Noachide laws, which really are about 100 commandments. There are about 100 commandments incumbent on a non-Jew. It's just broken down to 7 categories. How do you know the laws of torts, which all apply to non-Jews? The only way you could know that is by studying Torah. So it's very important to learn the laws that are pertain to the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, and to ensure that Jewish people who are obligated to study Torah, that they can. So our literature is very clear about that. The performance of mitzvahs, and now it all makes sense of why. What's happened is that our bodies, what are we? We're walking protoplasm. We're basically made up of the stuff that of stardust, right? Just like your dog is, right? So what's the nafkamina? What's the difference between you and your dog? That is that you have a neshama. You're creating the image of God. As much as we love dogs, we generally do, right? A dog doesn't have free will. It doesn't have a neshama, and a dog, no matter how intelligent your dog is, does not believe in God. And moreover, it's not that your dog rejected the notion of believing in God. He has no idea what that even means. And if you could have a conversation with your dog, if you could speak dog, and you told your dog about God, he would have no idea what you're talking about. No idea. Why? Because he doesn't have the receptor for it any more than your computer from 1980 would be able to pick up a Bluetooth signal. It can't, because there's no Bluetooth receptor for it. You follow? There is a machlokes, there is a disagreement about how long people live after the resurrection of the dead. What happens to the generation that's alive when Tchias Mason, when the resurrection occurs? Do they have to die? And then, so this is a matter of dispute. I don't know the answer to the question. TaNaCh is silent on this. That the Moshiach would live forever, well, one can infer that because the Messiah has children, see Ezekiel 46, verse 17. So, and that they have an inheritance, one can infer that perhaps the Mashiach will die and then his children will be king. Because that's essentially, the Mashiach is going to be 2 things. He's going to be the king, a Davidic king, heir to the Davidic throne, to the promises of 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 12 through 16. But he's also going to be the chief rabbi of the Jewish people. He's going to be teaching Torah. He's going to be not only to the Jews, but teach Torah to the Goyim as well. And they're going to listen to him. See Isaiah chapter 2, see Micha, who lived at the same time, chapter 4. Micha is quoting Isaiah. Micha is quoting Isaiah there. If you ask me, how do I know that? I'll tell you later. So there is a disagreement about how precisely this will occur. And when it happens, and please God, it will happen very soon, which I believe, then we'll know, we'll understand. Just like there are many prophecies that are unfolding now, which 150 years ago would have been inconceivable, could not imagine how Zechariah 12 could unfold. Now we know exactly. So there are different opinions on the answer to those questions, and I can't tell you that. I'm not God's manager. I'm a salesman. So this is in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hands. All life belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's the one that gives life and takes life, Deuteronomy chapter 32. And so there are different views on this. But the important thing to know is HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trustworthy, and those who are loyal to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and are Isaac, who engage in the study of Torah and the performance of the mitzvos and enable others to do likewise, are assured a Tchias HaMesim, which means the physical resurrection of the dead from the bones. And do not be cremated, and no one should ever be cremated. From the bones is the resurrection. And if you have a will that says you should be cremated, change it today and tell those that you love to change that day. Do not be buried with dogs rather than be cremated. Never, 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 never. I'm just letting you know that. Never honor the request of a cremation. I know you're going to ask me, I don't have all the answers to your questions. I always get those questions, but my grandmother was cremated. I can't answer that. Just never, you are not allowed to honor such a request, and every human being should be buried when they're 120, never cremated. And when Mashiach, it's happening now. Like, we're in the midst of a seder of events, and it'll become clear to us exactly the order, how long, and so on. That will become known to us. But why does the person resurrect from the dead? And how does the person ensure that they will enjoy Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection? That's very clear. It's a loyalty to the Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to have Tevegas with Hashem, study of Torah, and making it possible for others to study Torah. May we see this remarkable moment quickly in our time. Thank you.
If you enjoy this channel and the content, and it has changed your life, or perhaps the life of a loved one or a close friend, would you please consider supporting this work? You can click this link and it'll take you directly to my website with the donate button. Or there's a Patreon link and a mailing address for snail mail if you would prefer. If you do donate, please do me a favor and leave me a phone number where I can contact you and thank you properly. I hope you all have a wonderful 2025. Shalom.